Good morning, everyone, and welcome. This is a Wellness Lifestyle Conference presentation, Ho'oponopono, a powerful tool for clearing. And I am Ilene Gottlieb, the Heart Healer, and it is my pleasure and my joy to be here with you today. I want to thank Priscilla Gendron, the psychic medium extraordinaire and my sister from another mother. I want to thank her so much for creating this space and for her entire team for creating this opportunity for me to share this time with you. I am really excited to be here today. I love talking about Ho'oponopono, and there are a lot of reasons why, one of which I will share with you, which I think is the most significant. So if you would, in the chat, mention, if you will, are you familiar with Ho'oponopono? Just type in yes or no, if you would. And I am going to mute everyone. Let me see if I can do that. Hold on. I'm going to ask everybody to just mute yourselves because I'm not seeing how to do that really easily. Okay. All right. Yes, no. What about the rest of you? Ho'oponopono, something you're familiar with? Just note in the chat, yes or no. Ah, Rita met Morna. You met Morna and Dr. Len. Oh my goddess, that's exciting. All right. Nathan, thank you. Priscilla, thank you. Lucinda, thank you. Wonderful. How about everybody else? Authentically me, thank you. Yes, wonderful. All right. So I have a knowing audience. So I'm going to be very interested in your engagement in the chat, okay? So if at any time you have something that you want to share or something that you want to contribute, just kind of raise your hand. Okay, Suki, go ahead. Go ahead and unmute.
Sorry, I was just saying that, you know, I've seen your previous chats and they've been absolutely amazing and I've got so much out of it. So thank you for your for sharing your knowledge and everything. So looking forward to this chat.
Ah, thank you, Suki. I appreciate it. Blessings. All right. Wonderful. If you can do something that brings your little hand down, that would be fabulous. Ah, technology. Where is Stefan when you need him? All right. So thank you for participating in the chat. I appreciate it. Okay. So let me ask you this question. Do you use Ho'oponopono on a daily basis? For those of you that are familiar with it. Again, just kind of note in the chat a yes or a no, if you would. Okay. That's a one no. Go ahead and continue to share in the chat for me, not daily. Thank you. That's not an uncommon response, by the way. And it's important for me to know that because that's an interesting part of what we're going to talk about. Okay. Okay, so not every day, but when I need to, but would like to do it every day, sometimes. Nathan, thank you, because that's how I started many years ago. So I want to share a little story with you because I think that it will help you to understand why I am so passionate about this work and sharing it with whomever will listen, right? Welcome, Susan. Grateful to have you here. And someone else just popped in. I don't know whose name it was. Erica, thank you. Welcome, welcome. All right. So Susan, I am going to mute you. Thank you. Susan, if you would comment in the chat or mute yourself, whether you are familiar with Ho'oponopono and if you utilize this tool on a daily basis. And Erica, if you would do the same, I would be most grateful. Thank you. Okay. So I want to share just the abbreviated version of the story, since we have 50 minutes today, 55 minutes tops, right? And I want to make sure that we get into the richness of this conversation to benefit us all, right? I want to say that when I started with Ho'oponopono, it was well over 10 years ago, probably closer to 15 now. And it was a part of my practice, my healing practice. I started out in the early 90s offering energetic healing sessions. Healing touch is the core energy healing modality that I use. And Susan, may I ask that you mute yourself, please? Thank you. And what I found was that I was just saying the prayer, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, when I was guided to within a session. I had never studied it. I just always trusted and knew that if I was guided, then I did, or I am being. And that's how I have always been. My intuitive connection has always been a very integral part of who I am since I woke up in the early 90s. Because as a child, as an empath and an intuitive, I shut everything down because my childhood was such that was less than comfortable and safe for me to be in my body. My parents did the best that they could. My father was adoring and loving. My mom was raised in an abusive environment herself. And so it was what she knew. And so she was quick to anger. She was quick with the hand. And the things that children will in later life define as abusive, traumatic. And so what I experienced about, I want to say it was in 2018 spring, our mother was in the hospital and was critically ill, and she survived beautifully. My dad passed in 2014. And so the care of my mother was shared between my sister and I, but I was the one that had most of the in-person time. And there was an incident that occurred after she stabilized that triggered every ounce of my PTSD from childhood that I thought was completely resolved. Because I've been doing healing work since 1994, I am very conscious about how I do my own work. Authentically me, thank you. She studied healing touch with Robin Goff from the USA, fabulous. A fellow healing touch practitioner, thank you. But that was my core work. And so I recognized the value of, if I'm not balanced and clear in my energy field, then I have no business stepping into someone else's, especially for the sole purpose of offering the opportunity for healing. Because we don't do the healing. We create the space for the client to heal utilizing energy and energy wellness tools and techniques. And so when my PTSD surfaced, I was 4 years old again, and I could not stay in this body. I could not stay grounded. It took a month for one of my colleagues who does similar matrix work that I do. It took her a month every day working on me to get this field of mine stabilized. And every time I would see my mother, every time she would start with me that she would be abusive, I want to say to you, in her defense, in a way, she was cognitively impaired, mild to moderately. She was in her 90s at this time, and she really didn't want to be here in this body. She would often say, as both my parents did, what are we still doing here, right? It seemed unusual to them that they lived to be in their 90s because their family members all died at a very young age. My mother's mother died when she was 17, when my mother was 17. So to live into old age was not expected. And so that summer, I was guided by spirit that my mother is not leaving her body until I heal this. Well, to be really honest with you, not so spiritual, I said, are you kidding me? I was pissed. Putting this on me, like I'm not dealing with enough, reliving my trauma every day, doing my best to be in my life on a daily basis in joy, which brings me joy. It's how I love to be. I want and choose, and I'm here to be in service. And it was almost impossible to do all of these things that I know I'm here to do. Well, it took me not that long to realize that this was the truth. I am the only one that was going to be able to do anything because I was consciously knowing that it was my soul's purpose. It was part of a karmic contract. And so I settled into the knowing of this. And I said to Spirit, I'm willing to do this, but you're going to have to give me a better tool than what I've got in my toolbox. Because I had, and still do, an extensive toolbox. We all do. There's so much available to us to heal, right? And whether we choose to use that tool or those tools on a daily basis to help ourselves, that's another story. As we can see, we're not using these tools on a daily basis. And sometimes I don't either. And then I catch myself and I get right back into my daily, during the day practice, not just prescribed to certain times of the day. And so it was December of that year that many of you have, I was not blessed to study in person with Dr. E. Haleakala, who I still consider to be my teacher. And through him, I feel that Morna Simeone is my teacher as well. So Rita, I'm like really tickled that you had the gift of being able to be in their human presence and study with them. I was blessed one day in December around Christmas week when I couldn't stand up straight. My back was in spasm. I had vertigo. I mean, it was like holding on to things to walk around my house. And I started to feel better, and I opened my Facebook account, and there was a video Facebook ad with Joe Vitale. I'm sure many of you have either seen or taken that virtual class for the Ho'oponopono practitioner certification. And the richness of it is that it is Dr. E. Haleakala. It's the content of 2 weekend workshops. It's rich with information. If you haven't taken it, if it's still available, I invite you to invest because it's not expensive. And for me, it was a lifesaver because when I realized that everything was within me, when I realized that even the cause for the PTSD symptoms that I've been victim consciously blaming on my mother and her behavior was mine. It was, as Ho'oponopono says, and we'll go into this in more detail, memories replaying from my own subconscious mind. And so when I realized that I am fully empowered to heal this on my own, I literally embraced this with both arms and my heart and all of my being. Within 2 weeks of a daily practice of living, eating, sleeping, breathing, Ho'oponopono, I found that I came into a place of being that was so peaceful. Hadn't noticed anything different with my mom. And I will share with you the clearing statement that I created in order to go into this healing process. Susan, welcome. Would you be kind enough to mute yourself, please? And thank you. Thank you. And so what happened was, this was December. By the end of April, the shortened version, I would first notice that my mother the redness would start to rise in her chest and in her neck. You knew she was getting angry and something triggered her. And we never knew what triggered her. That was the greatest challenge of living with someone and sharing time with someone that has a volatile background and has a cognitive impairment, right? There's no logical way of having a conversation to say, I hear you. I'm sorry that you're feeling that way. Can we move up? Can we move on? Right? That was not always the way that it could be. And I would engage. I'm a communicator. And so I would think that engaging would help. Well, it didn't. Right? And Ho'oponopono teaches us engagement is not your friend. To stop engaging is your greatest gift. And so what happened was, by April, 4 months, almost to the day, we were in the process of moving our mother into an assisted living facility because she had been in independent living. Her needs were greater. We found a beautiful place for her. My family was gathered and we were all unpacking, and she was sitting on her walker, Dottie directing, which we wanted her to do. We wanted her to participate and be invested in this new living space because this was the first time she was living on her own in an unfamiliar place without my dad, right? And so all of a sudden, in the middle of everything, she said, everybody, I want your attention, please. So everybody stopped what they were doing and we listened to her, and she said, I want to say thank you for everything that you're doing. I never could have done this myself. Understand, this is not how my mother normally communicates. She is not an unkind person. She taught us manners, but in this time in her life, she was very self-absorbed. And to be able to communicate outside of herself, to acknowledge, was not always something that she was able to do. So that was an extraordinary gift in and of itself. But what she said after that brought tears to my eyes. She said, I just want you all to know how much I love you. That is not something that my mother was able to say. She could say it as an I love you in a thank you note, because that was the right thing to do. She could say it in a note where she was sharing her feelings about something, but to say it to you, that was not who she was. So what Ho'oponopono did for me, it healed my PTSD from childhood. And it gave me the gift of a relationship with my mother for 1.5 years before she transitioned to spirit. For that, I am eternally grateful. And not only that, I am so grateful for this opportunity to teach it. And at the time when we complete our time together, I have a real special message that I want to share with you, something new that I'm starting, and I'm excited to share it. Okay, so that is my story. And I don't know if anyone here has a similar story that they've experienced with Ho'oponopono. If you could mention that in the chat. Unfortunately, we won't have enough time for you to share, but I'd love to know if you've had anything that significant or physical manifestations of symptoms or dis-ease that you've experienced a healing with. Because my back pain that day when I first started listening to the studying part of Ho'oponopono with Dr. E. Haleakala-Hulen, right? That within an hour, my back pain was gone. The vertigo took a little bit of time. And what I did was I sat there and I said to whatever memories are in me, I had put my hands on my back where it was bothering me. And it was a different place than what I was used to. My old nursing, bad body mechanics from, you know, moving people that were much heavier than me, that were not able to help in beds, you know, anywhere from peanut people, you know, to 300 and some pound people. And my body mechanics were not always the best back then. So I have a long history of it from the physical domain, right? But we know that metaphysically, the back is all about feeling supported in life. And if we have support issues with, childhood abuse brings up that belief that we're not supported, we're not loved, we're not validated, we're not appreciated, right? But it's all our perception of our reality. And Ho'oponopono teaches us that it's all memories replaying from us. So where they come from, who knows? But they show up because they're there to teach us something about who we are being in our relationship with ourselves. And as the heart healer, I'm so grateful Spirit asked me to refer to myself by that name, for it is all encompassing as to my soul's purpose for being here. And truly, it is yours as well. For we are all here, whether we know it or not consciously, to remember how to be a loving presence in our relationship with ourselves first. Not with God first. We're already connected to God in a loving relationship, whether we're consciously knowing of it or not. We are that divine light. It is our essence, our soul essence comes into this body when we take our first breath. It stays until we take our last breath. It's what gives us life force, right? So we're all here to learn the same thing. But it's really not learning because we already know how to do it. So it's all about remembering. And this is one of those amazing tools that helps us to hold that space so that we are more and more in alignment with our soul's purpose for being here. And when we are in alignment with our soul's purpose for being here, our world opens up. Life becomes so much easier. Easy and relaxed, shall we say? Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I shared so far or comments? If so, please go ahead and comment in the chat. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully I can still see the chat. Oh, I won't be able to see the chat. Okay, so I'm not sure how that's going to work. I hope Stefan comes. Actually, you know what? I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. Priscilla, can I make you the host? Would that be okay? So if anybody else comes in, you can let them in. Would that work for you?
That's fine. You can do that.
Thank you, honey. I appreciate it. Let me see how I can do that. All right, we are changing the host to Priscilla. Okay, that way, if anyone comments in the chat, if you can just get my attention, and we will take a moment and answer questions. All right, now I'm going to share my screen. I love technology. I love technology. I love technology, right? Here we go. Oh, goodness. Now you have to give me permission to share my screen. Oh, yes. Because now you're the host. Priscilla, please give me permission to share my screen.
Okay.
Thank you very much. All right. Very good. Okay. Get rid of the stuff from popping up. All right. Let me move this out of the way. Move it up here. Okay. Can everybody see this okay? Priscilla, if you can just let me know, that would be great.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you so much. It's just an easy way for you to be able to have a visual of what I'm sharing And it gives me an easy way to move through our time together quickly so that I can get the basics for you, okay? Ho'oponopono is the prayer. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. It means to make amends, to be correct, to be in harmony. And in ancient times, in ancient Hawaiian times, it was a facilitated process by the community's kahuna or spiritual leader, or by the head of the household. And as a facilitated process, because the Hawaiian people held a high regard for peace, anything that disrupted the peace in the community needed to be nipped in the bud as quickly as possible. So everyone gathered, because the belief was that everyone was creating whatever it was, whether they were consciously aware of it or not. So 100% responsibility for whatever it is that we are experiencing in our lives, whatever we see, sense, feel, hear, know, it's our responsibility. And so like college basketball, they raise their hand when they make a foul, we're 100% responsible. It doesn't mean that we're guilty. It doesn't mean that we go into self-judgment or self-criticism. It's just how it works. It's a process. It's about being human and being in this incredible realm of reality that we've consciously chosen to participate in, right? So Ho'oponopono is this ancient process of repentance, forgiveness, transmutation. I'm going to show you how that works in the simplest of terms, because this is the easiest process that I know, the simplest tool that is so powerful and so portable. We take it everywhere, right? Okay, so everyone would gather. The person who was facilitating the process would elicit from everyone that everyone would have to say to everyone, I love you. Everyone would have to say to everyone, I'm sorry for whatever I did to, contribute to our lack of peace. Everyone would have to say, please forgive me for whatever I've done to contribute. And they would also have to express gratitude for everyone, and say, I'm so grateful, right? Well, in the 1970s, Morna Simeona, who was awake to her spirit connection when she was 3 years old, and her mother was a kahuna. I don't know how many generations of kahunas were in her family, but she let her mother know at age 3 that she was connected. And so in the 1970s, after living a life of conscious connection to multiple realms of reality, she was guided to change the format of Ho'oponopono from a facilitated process to one that is all self-contained, referred to as SITH, S-I-T-H, or self-identity through Ho'oponopono. And so basically, there is nothing outside of us. Whatever we see, sense, feel, hear, know, or experience, we own it. It is created based on Ho'oponopono beliefs, that it is memories replaying from our subconscious mind. Ho'oponopono is mind, body, mind principles being the source of all that is to the nth degree. There's nothing outside of us. Now, the thing is that there's a book called The User Illusion by Nortranders that Dr. Len mentioned in this coursework. And in The User Illusion, there is a principle that says for every 15 bits of data per second, that's 1 5, there are that we are consciously aware of. There are 15 million bits of data per second that we have no conscious awareness of. So when you think about that, 15 bits per second we're consciously aware of, compared to 15 million bits of data per second that we have no knowledge of. Imagine how much we have no knowledge of what's creating our reality. And so if you have been working really hard to change how your life is unfolding, to change what's going on in your body, to change what's going on emotionally, or in your relationships, or in your business, and it's not working. Well, the reason is because you only have less than 1% conscious knowing of what the cause is, and the rest of it is unknown. Breathe into that for a minute, will you? I found that to be a powerful statement. So what do we do with that information? What we do with that information is this. If everything that's being created that we get to see outside of us is coming from memories replaying from our subconscious mind, then Ho'oponopono is the tool that we can use to continually initiate the clearing of whatever the root cause is, because we're not doing the clearing. God, divine creator, is. Because we can't know that more than that, less than 1%. Therefore, we initiate the clearing by God, divine creator, who has omnipotence, who has knowledge of all that is, and knows where all these patterns of energy are. And one of the things that I found to be most interesting is, and I think that you will have noticed this as well, on the planet today, the volume of people that are experiencing abuse issues or memories of it, the volume of people across the globe that are having addiction issues of all kinds is so extreme. And these are all generational or ancestral issues. It's time to heal them. And the beauty of it is that Ho'oponopono can help us do that. That's how powerful it is. So, questions about anything that we've talked about so far, please make a note in the chat and Priscilla will let me know. Because this is important. I want to make sure that you understand that principle, that nothing is outside of us, that it is all coming from within us. Questions, comments? Okay, I'll move on. So I want you to look at this top part of the diagram on the screen on the left-hand side here. There are 3 states of consciousness based on Ho'oponopono. The first is our connection to divine creator God. It's often described as a place of beingness where it's silent. We don't have questions. It's beingness, right? If you've ever been in a deep meditation and connected to source energy, you know what I'm talking about. It's a place where we connect with that divine vibration of love. We don't tell God how to love us, what we need. We just have a knowing that we are loved and we are in that space of love, that we are love. It is zero. It's referred to as zero because it is a place of complete neutrality. But it's also zero frequency, which is the place where all is manifested from, because everything is possible. And we refer to it as a whiteboard because, and I love how Ilene teaches using the idea of a whiteboard with flipping paper, right? Is that everything that we identify as an issue, challenge, or problem in our life, if we put all of that on a whiteboard, you know, money is not enough. My back hurts. You know, my mother was not loving to me when I was a child. I feel everybody's stuff and it hurts. My heart aches. My stomach hurts, whatever. By the time you finish with the litany of things, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that are a problem, the whiteboard is what? Can you see any of the white on it left? And so the whiteboard is the analogy that we start with a clean slate, a blank white board. We put on it what we consciously choose to. And Ho'oponopono is the tool that helps us to keep erasing whatever is up for us to get our attention so that we can initiate the clearing of it, to heal it, to be more in alignment with our soul's purpose for being here. And remember, that's to remember how to be a loving presence with ourselves first. Okay. So that is our first state of consciousness. The second is inspiration. So I think of this as this state of being that is in allowing mode, right? This is the feeling that you get when you're connected to God, divine creator. God breathes inspiration into us. That's your inspired thoughts, creative thoughts. So we're never lacking any of that. The disconnect often is that we're not making conscious choices to act on them. Therefore, nothing changes, right? Okay. So this is the place where wisdom comes through. I am all about conscious heart connection as a tool for holding that space with ourselves that is so empowering and helps us to be more at peace with everything in our lives, no matter how it feels, because everything is good. It just doesn't always feel good, right? And so this space is when we breathe into our heart centers, we are in that same space of connection to source and in inspiration. So if you're looking to create a project, I invite you, breathe into and out of your heart center, call in all that you hold sacred and holy, and be in the energy of inspiration. It will always guide you in a very good way and easily, right? The third state of consciousness is memories replaying, data, and suffering. Because whenever we are in the energy of memories replaying from our subconscious mind, we are always going to be uncomfortable. This is a place where it says we are engaging. This is a place where we're acting on knowledge, not wisdom. Inspiration is where we are acting on wisdom received. When we're functioning from memories, when we're doing the things that are by rote, that are what we've learned, that really aren't loving to us or empowering for us, we are engaging in our third dimensional reality. And it will always create suffering if we don't do it from a place of love, if that makes sense. Okay. Just let me know if anything that I just said in terms of the three states of consciousness that are part of Ho'oponopono don't make sense to you. In Ho'oponopono, only one state of consciousness can be in charge. And so if we are functioning from memories replaying from our subconscious mind, then that's what's in charge. We have to release that state of consciousness and move into inspiration in order to shift what we're experiencing that we see on the outside. Okay. All right. I want to just talk briefly about the mind here, because I also want to give you, a tool to be able to take home with you today. So this is a very surface opportunity for learning that I hope will be of benefit to you. I hope that it'll get you started, but it is not the be all and end all. There is so much richness to this work, and I love to teach it. So keep in touch with me so that I can offer you more opportunities to join me in this journey of learning and being in the energy of this beautiful tool of Ho'oponopono. So let's look at this middle section of the diagram here on the left. And this is a brief description of the mind based on Ho'oponopono. The first part of the mind is our connection to divine creator. This is the infinite part of who we are, right? The mana purifying energy we're going to get to in a moment when I go over the actual Ho'oponopono process, okay? This is our connection to source. The triangle here represents our superconscious mind. This is a part of us that is sometimes referred to as Holy Spirit. It is the part of us that is timeless. It has awareness of spirit, of God, of divine creator, and it has knowledge and awareness of who we are in the human reality. And it sits in the middle here quite intentionally. It's very integral in the Ho'oponopono clearing process. In the psychology of the mind, the superconscious is represented by the Father. Now we come down to the bottom part, which is divided into two segments, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Now the conscious mind, that's our intellect. This is where we consciously are choosing, right? It's where we learn. It's the part of us that is engaging with our reality, physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, whichever aspect of our being is up for engagement, okay? In the psychology of the mind, the conscious mind is represented by the mother. And then we move down to the subconscious mind. This is the place where all of these memories are replaying. And the subconscious mind is not a part of the mind that we have awareness of. And this is an ancient part of us that is based on the psychology of the mind, is represented by the child, our inner child. And imagine that this child has been dealing since the beginning of creation with all of these memories replaying with no acknowledgement because we didn't know that it existed, no gratitude. And so that's a very petulant part of us that's really kind of pissed off. And so the relationship that we develop consciously with our inner child is integral to this process of Ho'oponopono. Hulan has on YouTube an inner child meditation. If you Google, or not Google, but when you go into YouTube, if you search HEWLEN and inner child, there'll be a few of them that come up. I invite you to listen to the one that's about 17 minutes. His style of guided meditations is not my favorite, but it's effective. So if that's something that speaks to you, start developing that conscious relationship with your inner child now. It is so valuable. We need to love on that part of us because we also want to solicit from this part of us help. We want them to do the clearing 24/7 because we can't do it. We can do it as often as we remind ourselves or are reminded, but we can't do it 24/7. But the subconscious mind doesn't sleep, doesn't take a vacation. So we want this part of us to work with us. When I started doing this process for myself with the intention of healing this relationship with my mom, I would wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking this process because I was so committed to this healing of all that was within me. And I trusted and knew whatever was supposed to happen on the outside of it with my mom was going to happen. It wasn't up to me. It's not up to me. It never was. I can only choose for me. I don't get to choose for anyone else. But by initiating the clearing of whatever was in me that was the cause of her suffering, will immediately, and this is how it works when we clear on behalf of someone else, we are always clearing from ourselves, and God, divine creator, in its infinite wisdom, clears from us that which serves our highest good and clears it from wherever that pattern of energy exists in our reality. And then it goes back through time, space, dimensions, and realities back to the beginning of creation and clears it through our ancestral tree and the ancestral tree of humanity, because we're all connected. That's how powerful this is, but we can't do it. So we trust and know. We stop engaging and we initiate the clearings, and we trust and know that God, divine creator, is doing the work. Right? Okay. Our time is moving very quickly. Okay, so the mind-body connection, I want to share that with you really quickly. This is how the mind-body works based on Ho'oponopono. So the cell, right, has its own mind, and it has all of the representations that we have of the mind. So it has an aspect of the mind that is the God divine creator. It has an aspect of the mind that is the superconscious, represented by the Father. It has an aspect of the mind that is the conscious mind, represented by the Mother. And it has the subconscious mind, which is represented by the inner child. And so whatever we're manifesting on the physical layer, we only need to clear it from the mind. Ho'oponopono says the cell is perfect. It is the mind of the cell that is having the challenge. And so we work with the mind in order to affect change on the physical level. All right, I see we have a question here. No worries, honey. Enjoy. I'm grateful that you were here with us. Thank you. Okay. All right, because we know that we have another segment coming up right after this that's part of this wellness lifestyle conference. So after we're finished here, you're going to jump on your next class with the next speaker. All right, so hopefully this makes sense. Everything in this realm is cause and effect, right? The cause is memories replaying from our own subconscious mind. The effect is whatever we see around or within us. And the answer is to choose not to engage with memories and data to eliminate our suffering. Engagement is asking questions about it, talking about it. We simply initiate the clearing. So quickly, I'm going to go through the 4 applications of Ho'oponopono. And one is because memories are always replaying and we are ancient in our existence, and they're all replaying from the whole history of who we are. The first application is continuous Ho'oponopono. So we can do Ho'oponopono 24/7. By the time we take our last breath, we'll never be finished. So we do as much as we can. So that's one, continuous Ho'oponopono. The second is anything in the moment that doesn't feel good. Just simply, like my big toe hurts. To whatever memories are in me that are the cause for my big toe hurting, on any and all levels that I am to atone for. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Or just I love you repeatedly, or just thank you. And that's a basic Ho'oponopono clearing statement. To whatever memories are in me that are the cause for, fill in the blank, on any and all levels. If it's something else that you perceive outside of you, you add that I am to atone for. If it's all something that's contained within you, you don't need to. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. You can say that in any order. You can just say I love you repeatedly or just thank you repeatedly. It all works. Your intention is more important than anything else. But what is necessary is you must keep initiating it in order to receive benefit. Remember, it took me 4 months to receive the beautiful shift in my relationship with my mother by clearing from within me, initiating the clearing from within me. Okay. The third application is, another example of the second, anything in the moment. You're driving your car, somebody cuts you off. Want to hold on to that energy? You don't have to. You can engage with it and all your expletives and everything else. But if you engage with it, you're focusing on it. And if you focus on something, it's a core energy principle. What you focus on expands and grows. So we want to limit our suffering. We want to diminish it. We want to eradicate it. So in order to do that, we keep initiating the Ho'oponopono to clear whatever the cause of that suffering is. You can walk around the house just singing, I love you, 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 I love you. Make up a song, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Not the best voice, but you can do anything you want. You can dance to it, you can sing to it. It all works. You can write it. But if you don't do it, you've not initiated the clearing of anything, therefore nothing changes, at least not significantly. Okay, third application, I call it a proactive list. You make a list of the things that you really want to focus on changing. You create clearing statements with the format that I just described, and you can see it here on your screen. And you speak those clearing statements a minimum of twice a day. But the more you speak it or think it, the more you are initiating the clearing of the memories that are the cause for it. So the more often, the better. Okay. The fourth application is when my mom is the example, when you would like to clear on behalf of someone or something else. Here in South Florida in the US, we are in hurricane season, slowly coming to the end of it. We have another month to go. And so this is a time when you can do Ho'oponopono for tropical storms that are coming close or hurricanes. It can be used for anything, anyone, any aspect of who we are, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. It's an unlimited resource of opportunity to clear what is the source of an issue. Okay, so that gives you the basics, right? Let me just make sure. I'm going to look at my notes here, see if there's anything. The to be free or not to be free. Dr. Ilene is a Shakespeare aficionado, and the way he would describe Ho'oponopono is the phrase from Shakespeare, to be or not to be, that is so famous. He adds to it, to be or not to be free of memories replaying from the subconscious mind, right? All right, so let me just stop my screen sharing. All right, any questions before we complete our time together? Go ahead and either raise your hand or comment in the chat, whichever is the most comfortable to you, or just unmute yourself. Questions about anything that we've talked about so far? I guess I've done my job. If no one has questions, that's great. All right, I am thinking of a number from 1 to 20. Who is going to win my free gift, which is an hour Akashic Records reading? Thank you, Rita. I appreciate your feedback. My joy. Okay, type in the chat, pick your number from 1 to 20. And the person closest to it will win my free gift, which is a 60-minute Akashic Records reading. All right, we have an 8, we have a 9. Nathan, you are a winner. We already have our winner. There you go. Nathan, I will reach out to you. If anybody else had already thought to type that in there, go ahead. I will gift more than one, but now that I've already said it, I shouldn't have done it that way. Oh, well, there you go. It is what it is. So Nathan, I am very grateful that you won this gift. I'm looking forward to being of service to you. We will either do that by Zoom or by WhatsApp, whatever feels good to you. Okay. And last but not least, before you run off to your next presentation, I am so excited. Spirit guided me a couple of months ago to start a community. And the name of it is the Heart Healers Ho'oponopono Community. I am going to be serving in hopefully a very expansive way to help shift who we are experiencing ourselves as being in this human realm. And I'm really excited. And I hope that you will join me. All of you having registered for this event are in my email list. So I will be sending out a link for you to join a private Facebook group. And then within the next month or so, we will be creating a membership community that will be offering opportunities for you to participate one-on-one with me on a weekly basis so that we can be consistent with our Ho'oponopono practices and really reap the extraordinary benefits that this beautiful ancient practice, which to me is much older than the ancient Hawaiians. It is much older. It is galactic in origin. And so something that's been around that long, it must be good for us, right? So, all right, any last minute questions? You're welcome, Nathan, my joy. Just go ahead and unmute yourself if you would like to. I'm happy to hear any last minute questions. We have a couple minutes before we need to complete. No questions. I'm so grateful that whatever was presented has been received in a way that was helpful. Priscilla, my joy. Thank you for this extraordinary opportunity. Remember that you can watch the replays on the Wellness Lifestyle Conference YouTube channel, which I'm sure Priscilla will share that information with all of you to keep you in the loop. I'm looking forward to also participating in the collaborators group for this community. The last Thursday of every month, I will be offering a live on the YouTube channel for the conference community called Heart Matters. So please join me every month. I don't remember the times, but it'll be listed. Priscilla, I'm sure, will share. All right. Priscilla, thank you so much. If you will, you can now complete our recording with my gratitude. Thank you. Blessings.
Thank you very much. And I did make you the host again.
Thank you so much. I will complete. Blessings of so much love and gratitude to everybody. All right. Now, if I can find the recording button, I will be happy to do it. All right. If you will stop it, Priscilla, because it's not showing up for me, my ability to, here it is. Very good.
Okay.
Blessings, everybody. Bye now.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of the conference.